In this tutorial, we will walk through exporting an animation from Blender 3 to Unreal Engine. For an example, we have this animation with a sword prop. The prop itself has no keyframes, but you can add a constraint to one of the bones on the skeleton. So to do that, you just select your prop and then go to the modifiers tab, and then over here in constraints you can add a child of constraint. So you go over here and you click on child of, and then you would select the game engine skeleton, and then right now I'm just using the right hand bone, so it's the sword is always going to follow the position and rotation of the hand bone. And I can show you that this one right here of the right hand. What's convenient is that you don't have to do any keyframes for the sword, so once you do your animation, you can use any other prop you want inside of Unreal Engine and it'll make sense. So it's more like a placeholder within Blender for now, and then once you finally import it, I'll show you how to rotate it and translate it into place. So back to the constraint. You choose the game engine and the hand R, and that should do it. And then you would need to position the sword or prop, like gun or rocket or whatever, for your game character. You need to position it to be where it should be, and then whenever your character moves, it will follow that position, but just make sure it makes sense. It's something that's always in contact. Okay, so when you're ready to export, you want to select just your character so we don't export anything unnecessary. So I usually like to just go into wireframe mode and then select everything, and then go to File, Export, FBX, and here are some settings that you'll need to have the mesh work properly in Unreal Engine. So you'll want to, on the main, you just want your armature and mesh, so you'll need to hold shift and then click the mesh as well, because if you just click it once, it doesn't select more than one. So you hold shift, click armature and mesh, and do selected objects. Next we go to geometries, and we're okay with applying modifiers. And then go to armatures. You only want to deform the bones and set the armature to root. And all these animation settings are okay. We want to export our animations, so we'll export that as a sword animation on desktop. Okay, now back in Unreal Engine, we want to import this. And want to set the scale to 0.1, and this is just using the default setup of a Blender as a reference. I found it to work this way. It's just 0.1 because it's going to have the sword at the right scale. So we'll hit import. And there might be several different animations that you don't really need. There might be keyframes that were set up that you didn't really intend to do. But here's the animation, and you'll notice that there's no sword there. That's because we need to now go in and add the sword into the bone socket properly. So we'll go to that same place right here, and we'll pause it so it doesn't overdo the processor. So you'll go to that socket, you'll right click, you'll add a socket, right click again, and then you create a mesh socket. Finally, you right click one more time, and then you can add your mesh, or add your sword or prop or whatever thing you want to attach to your character. So for now, I need to go back and actually import that katana. Okay, now we have the katana, and we'll save everything. We'll go back to the mesh to that socket, and we go to add preview asset, and then finally you choose the katana. And you'll notice that it's not positioned correctly. What you'll need to do now is to select the hand socket, and you'll need to move it around, and you'll notice it's a little bit strange how to move it. And I wish the developers of Unreal let you just position the katana or prop or mesh itself. But this is how I found out to. So also make sure you start at frame 0. So we'll undo that real quick. You need to make sure you start at frame 0 because it might keep that as a new keyframe. So we'll go in, and next reposition it. And also the rotation's gonna look a little weird too, because it's not rotating it by the origin of the katana or anything. It's rotating it by wherever the hand socket is, but that's okay. We'll just you'll have to kind of play around with it to rotate it the way it needs to be. Okay, that's getting closer. And rotate it more. So another way to get around this might be to create a bone in Blender and then fuse the sword to that bone. But that also may or may not be convenient to you depending on what your game design is going to be. I mean, if the character is going to be switching the weapon out a lot, you might need to do something else with the blueprints to switch it out. And that needs to be the other way. Alright, that looks pretty close. And now when you hit play, you'll see that it follows his arm properly. And so you just keep adjusting and rotating it to get into place. I know it's kind of just such a strange way to get it there because the rotation is not really based on the center of the sword, and I wish the Unreal developers let you just adjust where the katana or adjust the mesh itself. But anyway, that's the basics of bringing in an animation from Blender 3D to Unreal Engine.